everyone to vote, but we don't want anyone to cheat, and we want to make sure that we strike that appropriate balance. So there's going to be a number of things that we're going to be asking the legislature to address in this upcoming legislative session, which starts just in a couple weeks from now. The first thing is in Florida, you're not allowed to pay someone to do ballot harvesting or anything like that, but people can volunteer, and quote, volunteer, and potentially handle a lot of ballots. And my view is we should have no ballot harvesting at all in the state of Florida. I mean, if you think about it, when you go in to vote on, if you go in to vote on election day, you'll walk, there'll be 150 feet. No one can even talk to you when you're going. It's like a sacred thing. You're in a poll, you do all the thing, you put it in, you see the process. How could you say that that's how you do it in person, and then somehow someone can just harvest hundreds of votes and dump it in some drop box? And so we don't want any ballot harvesting in the state of Florida, and we're going to make sure, again, we're not a big ballot harvesting state as it is, but any type of loopholes or any type of room where that could be abused, we want to make sure that we address it. We also want to have, even though we didn't go down the road with COVID of just mailing out indiscriminately ballots, you know, you had people that were getting ballots in some of these states that hadn't lived there for 10 years when they did this stuff. They didn't have clean voter rolls. You have all these ballots floating in the ether. So we didn't do that, but I think we need to make it in law that we're not going to do mass mailing of unsolicited ballots. It doesn't work. And especially in a state like Florida where we're dynamic, people come and go, we've got a lot of transient, although most people want to come here because we're doing well, and you know it's a free state, unlike a lot of these other states. But I think it creates a lot of hazards, a lot of problems, and I don't think that that's the way that you want to conduct. So we have a long history of absentee ballots, and that's fine. You request an absentee ballot for yourself. They can verify that you're actually a legitimate voter. They can send it to you, and obviously if there's any impropriety, then you could be held accountable for doing that, so you don't want to improperly request it. So we believe that you should have absentee, but it should be by request. The voter requests it, they send it, then you turn it in. But you also have appropriate signature match to make sure that that's the actual voter who did it. And so we're going to continue with our by request absentee system. And we are going to do, if there needs to be ways to bolster the signature verification, then we need to do that as well. We also have to look at some of these things, and I had no idea this was even in our law before. You know, they throw these drop boxes out in the middle of no, and I'm just thinking, I look in California, and you know, these things are just out there. People are destroying some of the ballots and all this stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, if you were going in an election, on election day, they wouldn't just have a pile where you could just throw it. I mean, that's like a big deal. You put it in the machine, you watch it, you do all that stuff. So to just have ballot, and you can't enforce a prohibition on ballot harvesting if you just have some random box there. Who people could do it? So you need to be able to address these drop boxes. What the Secretary of State did was put out guidance for all the counties to say any drop boxes need to be monitored by the elections office the entire time. You can't leave these boxes unattended. The problem was not all the counties followed it. Some of them just said, you know, go pound sand. So we need to address these drop boxes. I think they're a big problem, and I think that you can take it, put it in the mail, or take it to the elections office. Why do you need to have these things out there? We also need to address what we saw in this past 2020 election was hundreds of millions of dollars from special interest groups in order to conduct election administration. So they'd actually administer parts of the elections in conjunction with some of these local governments across the country. Groups like Mark Zuckerberg's group were involved in this. So here in Florida, we should have no money from private special interest groups to run our elections. We don't need it. We also need to ensure and have appropriate measures to be able to vindicate this right, but political parties and candidates should not ever be shut out from observing signature matching and other types of processes. This is the way you do it. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. If you have people there and they're watching it and it's fair, and that's in both parties. There's some very good Republican counties. Democrats should be able to go in there and watch it, just like we should be able to watch in Broward and places like that. That's only the way to do it. We also, in Florida, one of the reasons why I think we did good is almost every county does real-time reporting of voter turnout data. So when we were going on Election Day, we knew how many voters had voted in person early. We knew how many mail ballots had been received by midnight the day before the election, and then you see the tally continue throughout Election Day. That's important to do, and we're going to make sure every county has to do that, because what happens is you see the turnout, you're able to monitor it, and then when the election is over, it's over. There's no more votes coming in 2 days later, 3 days later, 4 days later. That doesn't inspire confidence. So what you'll be able to do, and we pretty much can do this in Florida, I think we need to do more to make sure every county is doing it, but at 7:15 on election night, we know how many votes have been cast. So we have a fixed universe of votes, and then obviously most of those would have been tabulated by then, and then you go through it, publish the results, and you move on. And look, I want my candidates to win all the time, but if it's done right and it's above board and you don't win, then you got to move on. But when you're not doing it right, people get upset. So we need to do that. And what I don't want to see, like we've seen in some of these other states, is you have an election night, and then 3 or 4 days later, you have massive vote dumps just coming. Georgia, they didn't even know how many votes were outstanding. They said, oh, we think 25,000 more, and then it was like 100. So that does not inspire confidence. And so if you know the votes, if you can see that, if it's transparent, the election ends, you're seeing how many votes have been cast, then it's just a matter of tabulation. But if you do that, you physically couldn't just dump 100,000 votes a week later. It doesn't work that way. So I think we're mostly there in Florida, but I think we need to do a little bit more to do it. I think 65 counties do this. A couple of them don't do the real time. So we want real time, and we want that number reported. As soon as the polls close, we should know how many people. Now, maybe you'll have some people standing in line still. Obviously, they all count. And then there may be some more mail that comes in right before 7. But you should have a pretty good idea at that point how many ballots are outstanding. And so I think these will help strengthen confidence for folks. We had 11+ million people vote. There was a lot of excitement, and we want to keep that excitement going as we go forward. But we did it right in 2020. We obviously got to continue to look and make sure we're doing it better. But there's probably no state where your vote matters more than the state of Florida. There's no state where you have as much transparency as the state of Florida, and where you can have as much confidence that these things are being done in the state of Florida. So I think these proposals will strengthen us even more, and I think it'll put us in the catbird seat as these other elections come up, and people will really continue to look for Florida. You have states that are 30–40% of our population who took a week to count votes. And I'm just thinking to myself, I mean, how could you be, it's absurd that would be the case. And so here we are, and we're doing all this, and we're doing it very efficiently, and that's a good thing. So this is going to be a priority for us. I think most of you have been following. We've got a pretty robust agenda in this legislative session. I can tell you throughout the whole COVID thing, everyone was talking about the economy, everything, how bad everything was going to be across the country. I have not touched one penny from our rainy day fund throughout this whole time period. We have revenue estimates, and they've revised them up over the months because obviously we're open and people are able to work here. But even these revised estimates, we're bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars more a month than even what they're saying with these improved forecasts. And so I think it shows you that the freedom works when you give people, make sure that they can't be shut down by local government in particular. We need to be able to do that. So we're good on that. But we also are very proud of a lot of what we're doing to give senior citizens vaccinations in the state of Florida. And We don't have any mandate. There's no requirement you take it, but we're offering. So Palm Beach County, I think we hit 200,000 seniors in Palm Beach. 55% of the seniors here have gotten a shot. Yeah, there you go. And we're going to keep doing more and more, thousands and thousands of more. And overall in the state of Florida, I think we're close to 45% of our seniors, and we have 4.5 million, so that's a lot of people. I was in Largo, Florida yesterday, and we were able to do the 2 millionth shot for a World War II veteran. As part of our efforts, we have a program where we go into elderly people's homes who may be in their 90s, and we've done Holocaust survivors, we've done the Bay of Pigs veterans down in Miami, and now we're doing World War II and Korean veterans. So we're going to continue doing that, but I believe seniors, whoever wants the shots, we want to get it to them. Hopefully, if we can get some more vaccine over the next few weeks, we could have all the seniors done, hopefully, sometime in early mid-March, if we can get more vaccine. But, you know, this country, we need to move forward. All the schools should be open. All the businesses should be open. In Florida, we've shown that these lockdowns don't work. If you look at places like Illinois, New York, California, they have the COVID, some of it's way worse than Florida per capita, but even like a California, you know, the senior COVID mortality is higher than Florida per capita, even though they've been locked down for almost 10 months now. The lockdowns don't work, and it's doing a lot of damage to a lot of people. And if they're going to keep these kids out of school for what, another year potentially, that is a disgrace for anybody that's doing that. That is going to have long-lasting problems for our country and for these communities. So that's what we need to do. So I think we've got a lot of great momentum in the state of Florida. We're the only state standing up against big tech. We obviously have a lot of So we have a lot of good things happening. We've done a lot of good things, but I really believe that this legislative session, as good as we've done the first 2 years, I think this could be the best one yet. And I think these election measures, making sure we continue to be #1 in elections, is going to be a big part of it. Why? So I'm going to let Blaze come up and say a few words about these issues.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Oh, come on. How are you guys doing? First, looking around the room, I see a lot of people that I know. It is a pleasure being back in Palm Beach. We have our great senator from just north of here, right? Gail Harrell. Gail, stand up. Everybody give a round of applause to Senator Gail Harrell. And I also want you guys to give a big round of applause for the best governor in the United States, Ron DeSantis. Take that, Governor Cuomo. This governor is one of the reasons why they are leaving the lockdown state of New York, and they are coming in droves to the free state of Florida. Build the wall around New York. Hey, look, no, honestly, there are a lot of really great people in the state of New York, but don't come here and New York our Florida, please. So as far as election security, I will tell you that the reforms that we put in place the last couple of years made Florida the beacon of light for the rest of this nation. And one of the reasons why is because this governor had the fortitude to remove or ask for the resignations of not one, but two really bad supervisors of elections. Our elections should be nothing short of safe, secure, and transparent. And listen, we know that we had a great situation here in Florida the last election, but we've seen on TV what other states are doing, or probably what other states are not doing. So just because it happens in other states does not mean that we don't put up good legislation to make sure that what happens in those states does not happen here in the great state of Florida. That's why we need to stop this practice of mailing out ballots to anybody, whether they request it or not. We need to stop the practice of universal all vote-by-mail ballots. We need to stop ballot harvesting. It is about time that we outlaw the possession of anybody else's ballot but your own in the state of Florida. We are going to stop billionaire tech CEOs from meddling in our elections. We are going to stop elections officials hiding in the back room, duplicating ballots, matching signatures. That needs to be open, in front, and transparent for the world to see. And we will demand nothing less. We need to do something with these drop boxes. To the governor's point, I helped draft the legislation that allowed them, but some of these supervisors of elections have gone rogue when it comes to these drop boxes. We need to rein them in big time. And the biggest thing that we can do in the state of Florida is put forth good election reforms here in the state of Florida and stop what Nancy Pelosi wants to do with H.R. 1, institutionalized ballot fraud, ballot harvesting. Floridians demand trust and faith in our elections. And under Governor Ron DeSantis and this legislature, we are going to answer that. We are going to deliver. So, Governor, thank you for everything that you do. I look forward to helping you with this piece of legislation.
Okay. Well, we've got a marching orders, and so we're going to be working really hard. You guys, any support you can give us from the grassroots to help push all these measures through, we're going to be working really, really hard, and I think we're going to